What's up, everyone, and welcome to another cryptocurrency market update. In this one, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin. And in these videos from Lutheria, you can expect to start to learn how to do technical analysis yourself and predict where the price action of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin may be moving next. Get a feel for what I'm thinking, an experienced trader investor, in terms of trades and investments that I'm looking to take, and then decide for yourself where you might think to make your own entries. So let's get started here on Bitcoin on the monthly time frame. We're looking at the monthly candle that is going to close in 1 day and 9 hours. It's very exciting. The monthly candle prints only happen once a month, so you got to wait for them, and when they happen, there's usually some volatility soon afterwards. So let's keep an eye on that. If we were to close near where we are now, we got a pretty bullish candle here with a pretty much non-existent lower wick and a short upper wick as of right now. Weekly time frame price action is quite interesting as we are making higher highs, but we are making lower highs on the RSI. But we're getting this declining bear volume on the drawdown. You can see that this week we have already validated this as a higher low in comparison to this one. We'll see if we can push above and form a higher high and continue this weekly trend higher. The main resistance level that we're dealing with is this R3, and the pivots indicator. If you guys don't know how to use this, we have a video where you can check that out and learn how to use this yourself. But it prints these dynamic, not dynamic, but it prints these static resistance and support levels. And here's a resistance level on the weekly time frame that we're going to be looking at right around 63K. I imagine that level on the first test will end up providing some resistance, as it is confluent with a lower time frame inverse head and shoulders pattern that we have seen. Let's look at the 3-day time frame. 3-day time frame, we have our support level on the 3-day blue level here, which we bounced off of right here and formed a higher low in comparison to this one. So we have a low, high, higher low, higher high pattern, and that's the bull pattern that we're looking for as a trend trader to see, to signify that the bulls have momentum and you should be looking for long entries, or at least I look for long entries when I see this trend. And you can see that if you were looking for them right here and you played the previous resistance level, which is this down candle before the up move, this played very nicely. And if you were to enter on the top of the wick of that candle, you already would have made about 13% on that trade. So that's a good little trade there. Let's go to the daily time frame and see what we're dealing with here. A couple things to note. This level right here, this white candle, is going to be a level that I've talked about over the past few videos that I am going to personally look to make an entry on if we close today's candle above it, which at the current moment in time seems pretty likely considering we're this far above it. A long here would end up, in my opinion, having a target of that 63K level. And the reason for that is because if we look at the 12-hour time frame, and we'll come back to the daily in a second. If we look at the 12-hour time frame, we're currently running into the R1 pivot. But aside from that, we have this inverse head and shoulders pattern once again that if we look back to this one right here, where we had our left shoulder, head, and then right shoulder, this is signifying that the bear trend downwards here is now over, and we're now in a short-term bull trend. So that's what we're seeing right here as well. If you look closely, you can see that here's our left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Now, the important thing to keep in mind here is the target for these patterns. So the target for this pattern down here, when we're playing the inverse head and shoulders or the regular head and shoulders, is always going to be from the head to the neckline. So the neckline is where both of the shoulders meet. So the the left shoulder comes up right here and meets right here. The right shoulder comes up and meets it same spot right here. So you can take the wick of that candle right there, and you can say, all right, we're taking it from there to there. That is about $9,600. If we measure $9,600 from that wick, we get, unsurprisingly, exactly where we went to roughly. And that is not surprising because a lot of people saw this pattern, a lot of people were playing that pattern. This is very similar to that. And given the recency of this pattern, I imagine that this one is going to have a lot of people playing it as well. There's probably a lot of people already in this trade. So the target for this one, we'll do the same exact thing, is from the head to the neckline, which is roughly about right there. That's about $6,400. If we pull that up from the wick of that right shoulder, that takes us to about 63,169. So right up at about that monthly pivot level. So that's going to be the level that I look to sell my Bitcoin if we end up getting into that level. The main levels to watch here, like I said, on the daily time frame. I'm going to get rid of these real quick. The main level on the daily time frame is this white candle back here from the 23rd of March. Now, this should have held as resistance right here, but because we were coming off this 3-day blue support level, it overpowered the 1-day level that was supposed to be resistance because it's a higher time frame. So whenever you have a higher time frame, you have to give that precedence. That level, whether it's a support or resistance level, takes precedence over a short-term support or resistance level. So this is no surprise that we went right through this level. We pushed right through it. We had one candle close above it here. If we get one more, I've been talking about this level for probably about 5 or 6 days now. I most certainly will be taking this trade if we come back into this level. Stop loss below that gray zone. And the target for that will be that 63.1 level. So if we enter some of our position on the wick of the candle and some on the body, even if we did all on the wick, we could do, and be a little bit more conservative and say, all right, I want to ensure that I get in on the position. That's still a 2.49 risk to reward. So as long as this price doesn't run away from us here and go all the way up to this target before it comes down to this gray level, I will look to long this level, and it will look something like this if it plays out the way we want it to. It will take some time, but that is a trade that I am most certainly going to take if we end up getting a daily close above this level. The other level on the daily time frame to keep an eye on is this white candle right here. Now this white candle right here is, if we get rid of that, this is a resistance level that we went into right here and rejected off of. Now, if you look really closely, you can see that we did go above this level just barely, and now we're trading below it. So for this to turn into support, because right now it's resistance, so we're going to color it red, this level will end up we'll end up needing to do the same exact thing that we're doing for this level, which is get 2 candle closes above it. Then it will be support. So right now we're currently pushing up there. Obviously, for my sake, I would like to see us close a candle somewhat bearish here and not go above it just yet. Come back into my level so I can get a good entry and then go to the 63K level. But let's look at the 12-hour time frame and look at another trade that I will end up taking if in 8 hours and 40 minutes we get a close above this yellow level, which acted as resistance right here as well as right here. So this level you can see held up as resistance because of the fact that right here we changed the 12-hour trend to bearish. So how do you know that? Well, we have our high, low, lower high in comparison to this one, telling us that the buyers are getting weaker because on this rise in price we had less buying pressure than on this rise in price because we didn't reach up as high in price, and then a lower low, and that's signifying that the bears have momentum. So once that happens, the last up candle here before the downtrend is going to turn into resistance because people were buying right here. So on a retest of this, we talked about this here, this is a strong resistance level. It's going to act as resistance because people that bought here now have an opportunity to sell out of their positions. So they do right here. It goes down, but then we come up. We change the trend right here to bullish, And now we're in a bullish trend making higher lows and higher highs. So we have a low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So every time we do that, we are continuing the bull trend with higher lows and higher highs. The bulls have momentum, and they'll probably continue having momentum until we get to minimum this high right here, or up to the 63K level, in my opinion. Now, if we get this 12-hour candle to close above this yellow level turns into a gray support level. And in addition to that, this black candle, if we end up closing this 12-hour candle above the black candle, this will turn into a support level for us. So then we'll have confluence, and confluence is just a fancy way of saying consistency, where two things are telling you the same thing. And in this case, the two things that are telling us the same thing are this gray support level and this support level here, which we'll color as purple because it would be a new one. And that would be the level to go long. So you would long, and then you would put your stop loss either below the purple level or below the gray level, and then your target for that would be the 63K level. Now, there's a couple reasons why you might put your stop loss here versus down here. If you're conservative and you're saying, I'm more risk averse and I don't want to risk as much on the trade, you want to put your stop loss lower on this trade and do it down here probably. That's what I would do. And per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only. It's not intended as financial advice. So let's be clear on that. This is what I personally will do for this trade. For me, if you're trading on margin, what you can do, which is borrowed money, what you can do is, if your stop loss is tighter, meaning that it's closer to your entry price, so let's make this very clear here. If we put our stop loss here and our entry price, let's take this up to here, and our entry price is the top of the gray, our stop loss is going to be 3.74% away. So when we do our position sizing calculation, that will end up leading us to a like some number for our position size, right? But if we lower our stop loss and put it tighter, now it's 2.22. Now we can enter with a larger position size and risk the same amount because of where our stop loss is. So that's the way the math works out with the position sizing calculation. And if you don't know how to do position sizing, there's a video that I'll put in this video as well that you can watch from one of our live events where we talk about that and go through the entire process of how to calculate that, so you know how you can use larger size and still risk a very small percentage of your portfolio, somewhere in between like 1 to 3%. So this is the trade that I'm currently looking for. And then lastly, let's look at the 4-hour time frame here. So the 4-hour time frame is continuing this uptrend that we're seeing. For the 4-hour, for the most immediate entry, it's going to be this doji candle right here. So if we get this 4-hour candle to close above this, this high right here, that makes this a support level, because so that will be the support level. So then what you could do is you could get even more granular, and you could say, all right, well, I want to take a more short-term trade. You could take this trade. I mean, there's just a ton of trades happening today, huh? I got trades on trades on trades over here. This one could either take you to this high right here where there's stop losses. And the reason we know there's stop losses is because we have this increase in bear volume after here. So people shorted right here. And so that is where people's stop losses will be. So if we don't go up to that before we come down in this purple level, that could be a good trade. I will most likely take that trade if we end up getting that, if we end up getting in 34 minutes this close above here. Because there's nothing concerning on the RSI, there's no sort of like overbought condition or a bearish divergence or anything like that. A pushback into this purple level will be a good, solid, low risk trade with a tight stop loss of, barely over 1%, which is crazy that that's that tight, but that is where the stop loss would be. We also have confluence here with the VPVR. If we look, we can see that this is where we start to get this increase in volume. So the more you show this indicator in terms of volume, the more it's going to give you, more data it's going to give you. So right here you can see this is where a fat node is. So that is where we will look to. So there's a lot of places where you can look to go long is basically what the point of this video. You have the 4-hour trade right here that starts at about 58 and goes down to about 57.1. You have the 12-hour trade, which you have to wait another 8.5 hours for before that goes live, and that would be this black candle or the gray level, depending on how conservative you want to be. And then you have the daily level, which will become valid, which is this candle from the 23rd of March, if the daily closes above that level. So those are the levels that I'm watching. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you like this video, give it a like. If you'd like to see content like this and live trade updates, news content, as well as live conversations and rooms that we host with our entire global community, you can join our global Telegram channel using the link in the description below. And until next time, onward and upward.